Stiff arms of crap out of Drake Kirkpatrick right there. Fighting through contact, fighting through offensive line, being double team, multiple moves stacked into one, just a play of pure domination. This is actual film, this is actual football talk. It's a football show, we're supposed to talk football, not storylines. And you are listening to the 25th edition of Blewett's Blitz. I'm going to be doing 21 plays with my friend Marcus Coleman, who has left Antigua. He's now back at the home base. How is Antigua, Marcus? What's the scouting report?
Man, it was awesome, man. You know, nice clear beaches, nice sand. The water was cool. It was great, man.
All right, so good. Hopefully, there's no coronavirus, and I can actually get married to my fiance there next year. We'll see if that happens.
That'll happen.
No stress.
No stress. It'll happen.
We're doing 21 plays on Desir, like I said, and then after that, I did George Fant already which is on my Twitter, and Jets X Factor, and I'm already working on Greg Van Roten. Other than that, the quick housekeeping. Obviously, you can follow me on Twitter, JoeRB31. Marcus is at PatchMC42. We did get a 5-star review, which I appreciate, from Vic Diwana. He says exceptional content, and he's basically saying that he subscribed to Jets X Factor because of the film breakdowns, and he basically wanted to know why some players in college had great highlights but never made it for the Jets. And if you watch the show, you'll know why, which is literally why we're here, because people only watch highlights.
Right, exactly.
That's why I'm here. So
highlights don't mean anything, dude. I promise you.
yeah. It's so funny too. Like Greg Dortch was the big guy last offseason, and then I killed him on here because he was lazy in college, so I really did not like his game. And then Blake Cashman too. It's like everybody's so high on the guy. And I'm relatively high on him too for where they picked him last year. But one of the first stats that everybody started throwing around, Marcus, was he never misses tackle. He had 0 missed tackles in college per whatever freaking stats website. The first game I watched, he missed like 3 tackles. I was like, what is this? Like, how do they come up with these stats, bro? So, that's why we're here. So that's like one of my favorite reviews that we got. That's the point of this. So I appreciate that. We're going to get into some minor things before we even get into the Desir review, which, like I said, is going to be pretty short, 21 plays. The first thing, Marcus, is it's the big topic of today. A lot of players in the last hour or two, I don't know if you've seen it or been on Twitter what you've been doing today, but almost in unison, everybody's been tweeting, something to the fact of, like, Pierre Desir tweeted from the Jets who were doing the review today. He says, it's bigger than the game. It's about the safety and the health of the players. The NFL, and you tag the NFL, needs to do their part and put the player safety as a priority and work to create a safe work environment if there's going to be a chance for us to play playing football this year. And then everybody's hashtagging "we want to play." Plenty of names, RG3 and Drew Brees, and all these guys are coming out and tweeting about it. So we were discussing a little bit before we started recording, but your thoughts on if there will be an NFL season, the NFL's plan or lack thereof a plan. You obviously have more knowledge into that than I would. But what are your overall thoughts on this whole situation with the season, and if they're going to play, and the players kind of going against and standing up against the NFL right now?
Well, the first thing you have to do is you got to understand how the NFL works. And obviously, being a former player, keeping up with everything, and understanding who runs the league, these owners probably have several plans. They're not going to just be sitting around since April without having some kind of contingency plan or something in place. Because as much as we think that they don't want to, have football, if anybody, they do want to have football because they don't want to miss out on the billions of dollars that they make every year, even if they're slighted some this year to not have a season. So there's a plan. There's probably 2 or 3 plans that they're discussing. Now, have they given all that information to the players? Probably not, just because that's just how they work. They're not going to disclose every single thing and disclose all their plans until they see how much, they're trying to really see, how close to the line they can get with probably some of the things that they've already put on the table. They're just trying to push the envelope. Okay, well, can we get this and get away with this? Can we use this and get away with this? At the end of the day, it's still business for them. And it's not that they're necessarily not, aware, or they're not concerned for the player's safety, because they have to be. That's the commodity. The players are your commodity for the business. So they know they need the players. So they know they have to protect them. That's why I say you got like some people you got to use a little common sense thinking about all of this, knowing that they're going to have a plan in place. It's just a matter of really just, I guess, pinpointing the specific things that the players may be asking for and whether the owner's giving to it. So I think in between now and the 28th, and I think actually the rookies going earlier. I think they're going on the 21st, unless I'm wrong.
There's some rookies reporting tomorrow. Rookies and vets with injuries, something like that.
Right. So there's going to have to be something in place. And they know that. It's just a matter of what they agree on and then moving forward to get it done. And yes, there's going to be a season. If you look at some of the universities, and even if you take the model of what's going on, and you can't really use baseball because they're not really standing around each other. There's really not a whole lot of contact. However, if you look at soccer, and I've been paying attention to soccer very closely since they started, and they have a lot of contact. They're in close proximity of each other. They're still out playing the game and slide tackling, albeit there's no fans in the stands. However, the players are, even during their cooling breaks, they're still in a little group, together. They're close to one another. The ones that aren't, the subs, they're up in the bleachers, away from, the main starters or the people that are playing. And they haven't had any negative reaction or positive test from what I've been reading from different countries, whether it be Germany, England, Italy, France. They've been they've been rolling every week since then. So, and I'm sure they've talked to some of those clubs, some of those medical experts, and gotten information on how they can best make this work for an NFL environment. So there is a plan. So I probably see 1 or 2 preseason games at most, probably just be one, and then the season will start. Now, obviously, there won't be a lot of fans in the stands. It'll be whatever capacity they decide on. But I think the games will still being played, and I think it's just a matter of narrowing down what specific information that's lacking, that's leading the players to not think that there's not a plan in place.
Yeah, I was watching the Mets-Yankees game yesterday, and they had some players in the dugout and then some like back behind the dugout, like sitting where the fans would sit. So
just like soccer. Same thing.
Yeah. So we'll see how it works with the NFL. I really don't think there's gonna be any preseason games, to be completely honest. I'm hoping. There's obviously 16 games, but as a player, just a follow up with that. Obviously, I didn't play at the level you did, but going into a game and not having, because I feel like, to be fair for the NFL, if nobody can have fans, or if one team can have fans but the other can't, nobody should have fans. I think it should be that way, because even 25% capacity can make a difference. I believe at least a little bit. So if somebody can't, then nobody can. If there is no fans, how would that affect you as an NFL player? Obviously when you were playing, like, what were your thoughts beyond that? Would it be different? Because I know you guys feed off the fans like that. That's inevitable. Yeah. You definitely do, but.
Yeah, well, everybody's different. For me, it wouldn't matter, because most of the time, and it's weird, the only thing that I could hear was what was actually happening on the field. Like, there, and that's my entire career. There weren't many times where I actually heard the fans. It was just like I was in my own little bubble, and the only thing I could hear was the coach talking, other players talking, the ref. I may hear a fan, every now and then, but it wasn't a big concern for me to, hearing the fans, and I'm not a rah-rah guy. I don't go around trying to hype the fans up or whatever. I just go do my job. So I never really heard, I never really heard any fans, and so it wouldn't make a difference for me. For some guys, that's their motivation. So now if you don't have any fans, now you got to find a different something else that motivates you, because there are some guys that feed off crowd energy, that feeds off the noise, the smack talking, that kind of stuff. Well, now you got to figure
a couple $1 million in your pocket.
I mean, yeah, now you got to. I mean, for me, that's enough for me. I don't need anybody that stands for that. Yeah, that's enough. So, so for some guys, they're gonna have to find something different. So it wouldn't, for me, it really wouldn't matter. And on the preseason games, while a part of me agrees with you, but on the back end, I'm thinking, well, you got to have a test run, before the season actually starts. That's why I say it may be 1 or 2. It'll probably just be 1, because you have to have a test run, in regards to how you're going to manage the sideline. They haven't even given any specs on what the sideline is going to look like, because now you got to extend the coach's box. If you're talking about keeping everybody spread out. So now the coach's box has got to be from maybe the 5 to the 5, going all the way down on both sidelines. You don't know where going to be designated for whenever the offense or defense comes off the field, where they're going to talk. Where the coach is going to stand, where the sub's going to stand, where they, there's a lot that goes into that. So, and you have to have a test run. You can't just go out there and have a game and you don't even know, what's going on. You don't know what the process is for coming into the game, for leaving the game, the testing. There's just so many things that have to be experimented with, and that you have to at least rehearse in some kind of way, that you have to at least have 1 or 2 games in order to do that. So it can be functional, it can be efficient, and you can still have good games.
Yeah, I feel like there's going to be like a lot of like 10 men on the field, 12 men on the field, because like if you're trying to bounce from like the special teams coach to the offensive coordinator to the defensive coordinator to spread out that much, like you're running around a ton. So, on the sidelines, like typically it's like you're bouncing from coach to coach to coach to that guy, and now it's going to be all spread out and we jog up and down the sideline. Like it's going to be crazy. Yeah. We talked about it too. I feel bad for the guys who are like fighting to make a roster spot, because this is not the year to do it. They're not want to go with the known commodities this year, like the maybe a guy like Bryce Huff. Well, I wouldn't even say him. Let's say Lawrence Cager might not make the roster, even though he has talent, and an old veteran, might make the roster because they know what they have and he knows the playbook and all that stuff. Because this year it sucks. Like you can learn stuff over Zoom, but there's nothing like doing it. So it's gonna be interesting to see what exactly happens with the NFL season. I hope there is a plan in place, because I'm already going a little bit stir crazy with not watching any sports. Baseball, listen, it's my 4th sport. I like it. But at the same time, I watched 3 innings. And I'm like, okay, I'm bored. Like, give me something here, and basketball, again, I like it. It's cool. Hockey, cool, but nothing's like football. So I need a football season. That'd be brutal. I know even if there is a football season, I'm going to be in the parking lot, most likely tailgating for a game I'm not going to walk into, if that's possible. I know that's going to happen with me and my buddies. So there will be some support from the parking lot. But other than that, quickly, I don't want to spend too much time on it. But again, I have a former NFL player on the show. Why not talk about it? I think it'd be stupid not to. The Jamal Adams situation, again, don't want to go too much into detail with it, but what are your thoughts? Him liking stuff about the Cowboys, not welcoming the Jets rookies, saying now there's rumors that, Le'Veon Bell talked to him and Jamal Adams wants to stay with the Jets. He just wants his money and all this stuff. What are your overall kind of like bird's eye view of the Jamal Adams situation? What's like your final thoughts on like what will end up happening with him?
I mean, here's the thing. It's not even that the Jets don't want to pay him, to be honest with you. It's just going about it the right way. So if we want to use, did you hear McCaffrey? Did you hear Miles? In Cleveland, did you hear them all up in arms, throwing tantrums, liking other people's, tweets and not welcoming the rookies and doing those certain things? You didn't hear a peep from them, and all of a sudden, boom, boom. I didn't even know Miles Garrett was getting a deal done until a couple of days ago when it got done. It was like, okay, where did that come from? Mahomes, just as we alluded to, Mahomes is different. Obviously, he's a quarterback. Quarterbacks always, they always get first dibs on everything.
They're on a plane of their own.
They're in their own category of their own, so you can't include them. But it's just about going about it the right way, because now you have made it difficult for Douglas as a general manager to not look like he's a pushover to player pressure in that regard. And look, dude, at the end of the day, as great of a player as you are, and as much as people may like you, here's the honest truth. Just like I said earlier, you're a commodity. You're a commodity. You're an expendable asset. And while there may not be another quote unquote Jamal Adams in the next draft or whatever it is, there's somebody right behind you waiting to take your spot. That's just how it is.
Just not Ashton Davis.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. But there's somebody out there, and you got to think about. And this is, I guess, because of my experience, where I always look past what's happening. If I'm the general manager, I'm like, all right, well, you want to sit at home and throw a tantrum? Okay, let me go down the list and see who. And look at the list of DBs in next year's draft and see what I got. You probably got like 2 dudes from Ohio State, probably got a dude from LSU, probably got a dude from USC or Notre Dame or Arizona State or somewhere. I'm like, all right, well, we like this kid. He can probably, actually, he does a little bit more than Jamal. I'll tell you what, we'll send him on his way and we'll draft this kid. I'm just telling you, like, that's, that's how it works. So you got to understand and particularly everything going on right now, and even though money's not necessarily tight for them, but they're just not going to be willing, and that's just not the way you go about it. You're still in the contract. You still got 2 years left. If you would just hold your water and not say anything and go about your business like McCaffrey did, like Myles Garrett did, your deal probably would have been done already. His deal probably would have gotten done before one of those two, to be honest with you. It probably would have come second. His deal probably would have gotten done before Garrett. I think McCaffrey's was already in the work towards the end of last year, so it was going to get done first. But his deal would be done, and nobody be talking about this. So it's just about going about it the right way and doing things the right way. And you got to understand he has to understand another thing. Yes, he's, I guess, somewhat become like the co-face of the franchise along with Sam Darnold. Mm-hmm. So, yes, everybody loves him. I know he wants to be there. Obviously, the Jets want him to be there. You have to understand, you're still not in the category like Sam Darnold or Mahomes or Deshaun Watson. Like, you're not, like, at the end of the day, those dudes are going to always be the face. Mm-hmm. So they're always going to be the ones that, like I said, they get first dibs. And if you were a quarterback, it'd be different. You can come out and say these things and your deal probably would have gotten done. You know, that's just how it works. But when you're another skill player or something, you know, a D lineman, O lineman, whatever it is, you just gonna have to wait till they get ready. Look how long it took for them in Atlanta to take care of Julio Jones. And we're talking about probably right now, you know, the last 5 years, 6 years, whatever, best receiver in the league. I mean, you know, between him and probably Antonio Brown. I mean, mm-hmm. You see how long it took them to get his extension or deal done. So, and look who we're talking about. So you have to look at it from all sides. You know, you can't just be, yes, you want your money, I get it. And he should get his money, no doubt. I hope he gets more than he even thinks he's going to get. There's just a way about going about it and doing it and being respectful of the club and of the team so you can get it done.
Yeah, it's and like you said, everybody's expendable, and this isn't necessarily the best, I guess, comparison just because Bill O'Brien's a psychopath. But look at Hopkins just got traded. He's number 1, 2, or 3 in the league right now in terms of receiver. You know, so and I think even right now, if you're talking about like wins versus losses, Sam Darnold's more important, obviously, than Jamal Adams is. So, and it's definitely interesting, and I've talked about it a couple of times, but it just seems like he was mad that Joe Douglas answered the phone about trade talks, and I think every good GM is going to answer their phone. Now,
you're supposed to answer the phone.
Whether they now, because like, and this is unrealistic, but what if somebody's calling and said, "Hey, 2 first rounds and a second round," and you're going to hang up and say no? So I think there's a difference between answering the phone and entertaining it, you know, or versus entertaining it. So he seemed like he was pissed off about that, and then what it seems like happened, just from my view, is that Chris Johnson told him that they're going to work out a contract with him, because then after that point, when he was pissed off at Joe Douglas, he said he wouldn't talk to Douglas or Gase, but he would talk to Christopher Johnson. Christopher Johnson might have promised him a contract, or at least talks of a contract. Nothing happened, and now he's all pissed off and liking stuff about the Cowboys and wants to be traded to all these playoff teams, even though he said he wants to build his own culture, which, listen, if you're a guy who's going to talk about building your own culture and you want to go to the Seahawks, that's not your culture. You're walking into an already made culture. So that you're a quitter at that point. So I'd be pretty pissed, especially if he was to go to another team and then not want a contract extension. Yeah, he would be hated in New York. He'd be absolutely hated. So I think, like you said, and we talked about this before we went on the show, and with the McCaffrey thing, listen, I still don't agree with the Panthers extending him because he's a running back, which he's important, but at the same time, are they in a position to win and spend a lot of money on a running back? I don't know. And then Bell was talking about his situation with the Steelers and said, oh, well, I was in the same situation as Jamal Adams, but no, he wasn't. Le'Veon Bell played out his 4 or 5 years, got franchised for a year, played under the franchise, then wanted a contract, and he still weren't given the contract. So he played for 5-6 years. Jamal Adams wants to get paid out for his 3rd year, so it's not the same situation. If Jamal Adams played out his 4 years, I would guarantee you he'd get extended after his 4th year. But now, like you said, the problem is Joe Douglas comes from those strong organizations with the Eagles and with the Ravens who don't get pushed around. And now you're demanding a contract. So now if he gets that contract, now other players, oh shit, well now do I get a contract after 3 years if I play well? So now what about Quinn Williams and your future draft picks and Mims and Darnold? Like, you don't want to get pushed around. So I think if he were to shut up the entire season, he might have gotten extended already. So it's a tricky situation, but at the same time, you don't want to trade him because you're not going to get the value of Jamal Adams. I just don't think you're going to. So
no, you won't. And like you said, if you're a general manager any general manager, not even just a good one, you have to pick up the phone. Like you just have to. If you're trying to do your due diligence in any kind of way, you have to pick up the phone, regardless of, even if it's just to say no dice on the trade.
Yeah.
But you have to pick up the phone. Like you can't go and just, because as a general manager, not only do you need to do your due diligence, but just because the fact that you even took the call could potentially help you with a deal with that club next year, the year after that. You have to keep those relationships. It's not just, it's not as simple as, well, why did you answer the phone? Well, you shouldn't answer the phone anyway. No, I have to answer the phone because I need to do my job. So it's,
you run, and for the team that you're a part of, I know you're like a head coach / GM type deal too, right? So I'm sure your best player, whoever it is, Mike Thomas, I don't know what the hell his name is, and if he heard you answer the phone about a trade, like I don't think I just think it's a situation where he's a little bit immature, because like you said, like I said, there's a difference between answering the phone and entertaining it. It's not like they said, oh, well, first round pick, and then Joe Douglas was going back and forth. Well, throw in Lyle Collins or whatever. Like that might not even happen. So you have to answer the phone, because what if they gave you a trade package? You literally cannot. You can't deny. Like, what if it was a first round pick in Lyle Collins, and that's going to help Sam Darnold in the future? Like, listen, Jamal, you're important, but you're not number one. That's Sam Darnold. So if it's going to help Darnold, so it's tricky. Obviously, what it seems has happened is, ever since these other guys started getting in contracts, I don't know if his agent got in his ear and was like, you know what, we fucked this up, because he hasn't liked any tweets. He hasn't tweeted about any of their contracts, where everybody in the past, it was he would hear a rumor from a random Browns freaking Twitter with 1,000 followers that Myles Garrett was in a contract extension. He would quote tweet back, oh, he deserves it, all this shit, fight for your money. But now he hasn't commented on anything. So I think he's trying to shut up to get a contract, to be honest. Ever since Le'Veon Bell came out and said he wants to be on the Jets, he just wants his money. We'll see what happens. It's just tricky that the way he acted. You don't want to reward bad behavior,
Yeah, and I'm actually very surprised that he acted that way, because he seems like a good dude. I think, if I'm recalling this correctly, he has a family history of, I guess players that played in the NFL.
His dad George played with the Giants for 2 years, but he got hurt. I think it was the second or third year he got hurt and was out of the NFL.
Right. So it's not like he's not getting any inside info, because, I mean, let's just, call a spade a spade. With the exception of the actual amounts of money, the way that business is handled hasn't changed in regard to signing players. It really hadn't changed that much. So, it's not like he's not getting any good information. I personally think, and I don't know who his agent is, it's probably some dude in his ear, or his partners in his ear, running them out, hyping him up, whatever it is, without actually thinking out everything, and processing all the information and everything that goes into it. That's what I think.
Yeah, because at the same time, even if you really did want to get traded, the best bet for him would be to go to the Jets behind closed doors, because going out in public, now you're lowering your trade value. Now it makes it harder for you to actually get traded. So who is in his ear? Whoever's in his ear is not doing a good job, because speaking out does not do you good in any sense.
It doesn't. It doesn't do anything but hurt you. You're correct.
You could go to the GM. Hey, I want to get traded. We can't work on an extension. No, I really don't want to be here. Okay, then we got to trade you. But you lowering your potential value to get traded for is gonna make it harder. So we'll see what happens. I don't know if it's his dad who got injured and said, get your money now. I got injured. Look at me, all this stuff. I don't know what happened, but like Ryan Clark saying he wants to go to this team, and Cromartie coming out and saying, oh, it might be the head coach and all this stuff. I just think they're trying to pull every plug, or press every button, I guess is a better term, to get a contract. But he made it kind of hard on himself. But let's get into this year. Don't want to spend too long on Jamal Adams. I think eventually I think he gets signed. I just don't know if it's before the season or midpoint in the season, if he's a good soldier type deal, because he is the leader. He's the leader of the defense and like the face of the team, or the second face of the team. Obviously, it's Darnold, but Darnold's on a rah-rah guy. So Jamal Adams, I'm hoping gets signed, because they don't have a lot of talented guys like that. Like they're diminished of talent. So getting rid of your best player, an all-pro type guy who literally made the all-pro team, it'll hurt. Yeah. Especially me, my favorite player of all time, Brian Dawkins. I love hard-hitting, rah-rah type safeties, and losing Jamal Adams, and playing a guy like Ashton Davis, who you did the film review on me. I think there's a big drop-off.
Yeah, it's a huge drop-off. There he is.
So now we're going to be looking at the Jets' number one corner. I've said it all along, and you've watched plenty of Morris Claiborne tape with me. He gives me Morris Claiborne 2017 type vibes. You started watching Morris Claiborne like 2018 with me, so he was a little bit worse in 2018 and 17, but I think Desir, and I already did the first 30 plays where it was before this, but bend but don't break. There's some definite problems that he does. You're going to see it right on this play. He's one of those guys, Marcus, who will get up and press, and he consistently soft shoes. He doesn't really like to get hands on. And he always is going to throw out for most times it is just to get back into his back pedal. But even when he is trying to press, he will just throw a false step up instead of like a kick step. Which we've talked about before, like coaches teach that kick step just to balance yourself out. You want to react to a kick step instead of a false step, and his weight going on his heels. But this is actually a good rep from him mostly. But I'll play it out and then let you watch it here. The one good thing I do like his physicality. I like his length. Obviously, like him getting his hand onto the shoulder of Hopkins. Honestly, I used to be really high on Hopkins. After watching him against Desir 2-3 times, I'm not as high on his releases. His releases really lack a lot for me.
Yeah.
But and obviously Desir is obviously throwing his weight right back onto his heels, but he's able to land the hand on the shoulder pad, and then the consistent hand fighting is good. Somebody mentioned it to me like, oh, he could have got called for holding here. That's a soft call. But I like the consistent hand fighting and trying to get like that the hand, the arm over top. And we've talked about it before too, the arm over top. Now your arm's going to impede his hand going up for the ball, et cetera. So what do you see from this rep from Desir?
Yeah, I mean, the rep's actually not bad. The only thing that I would say is because, I mean, honestly, as I started to work on it more, I actually started to play, a little bit like this, even if it wasn't, this bunch set or, this tight split by the wide receivers.
Mm-hmm.
When you're playing kind of a soft press, you want to make sure that even though you have outside leverage, that when you're taking your soft steps or your pedals backwards, that you're staying square, that you're going straight back. You see here, he gets cocked and he jumps immediately in when he's back on his heel, and that kind of puts him in trouble.
Right here.
Yeah. And so you notice when he does, put hands on him, he's already behind and he's off balance. So now he's trying to catch back up, once, as the play is going. See how he's behind already?
Yeah.
So now he's behind. Because really, if you're even, and especially with somebody like Hopkins who has the speed to run off, from a lot of guys, if you're even, he's leaving, is kind of the saying. So he's off balance because he's on his heels. Would like to see him stay a little more square, going straight back. And then now he can just move laterally and be, more on that top shoulder of the wide receiver and have a better angle, and probably have a chance to play make a play on the ball, to tell you the truth. Plus, you can squeeze, he has a chance to squeeze Hopkins more to the sideline than he's doing. The ball takes Hopkins to the sideline, not Desir. So, and now he's just hand fighting, now he's in the trail position. So once he gets behind immediately, just because, and I know it's little, but just that little jump inside or that little cock inside will put you behind and put you in trouble. But like you said, I like his length, and because he is long, he can cheat a little bit, which, I did that, I picked my spots when I did it, but you can cheat every now and then in doing this because you're long enough to be able to still be within where the ball is going to drop, depending on what route you're getting.
Yeah, and I think another point, like watching this a couple times over again too, is like you said, he's off balance, and he does use that length from that right arm to get that hand in there and out in front of him. But at the same time, if Hopkins is ready for that hand, he's off balance right here. There's a lot of weight in his hands. If he was to chop that down, he's gonna trip, and then he's gonna he's gonna stack him. So you have to watch, and it's all about the little stuff. That's why I bring you on. That's why I do this, because the little stuff matters. Because it might not have happened that rep, but the next rep versus Hopkins, he chops that hand down. Now he's beat for a touchdown, because he just absolutely burned you. I think this is another decent rep. Again, he plays in that no man's land quite often. Marcus, I don't know if it's you. I don't know if it's me and you who got to take a drive down to somewhere or over somewhere, but we got to talk to DB coaches about guys playing in that no man's land, because I just don't get it, to be completely frank. Unless obviously, like you said, it's like a, jambo, banjo, whatever type of coverage, whether it's tight split or stack or whatever it is. But,
One, two. Yeah, he's kind of right on the edge here. I'd like to see him maybe like another yard or so up.
Yeah, just a little bit. It's not a big difference,
it's not much. Yeah, that's
the
what I'm saying.
difference between 2 yards off and 1 yard off, I think, could be pretty drastic.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's probably right at the beginning of where we call no man's land, or where I would call it as well. He probably needs to be like another yard or so up. He takes a false step. I mean,
yeah, way back on the heels.
Yeah, way back on the heels. That's really the only thing I don't. I mean, that's what I don't like. And the thing is way back on the heels. First thing you do is raise up, which is what he does. So, and I know he's, I don't know how tall he is, but he's
like 6'1", I think. Okay,
6'1". Yeah. So he anybody over really 6'1" and over, you got to stay as low as you can, and that's why Hopkins, even I know Hopkins is running forward, but because he has no base and he's standing straight up, I mean, it's easy for Hopkins to throw him here at this point.
Yeah, and he starts to angle off too.
Yeah, and so now he's locking himself out. Hopkins sees that, grabs the arm, and really does a good job of grabbing the arm, boom, throwing him off balance, and now you're completely off balance, and now you're playing catch up. That's the thing. It all starts at the line. Covering, especially in press, all starts at the line. It's eyes, it's footwork, it's balance, it's hand placement, and he loses all of this.
Eyes, feet, hands.
Yeah, just from the jump, he loses it all.
Yeah, because that no man's land. Like I rather, and like with like physical receivers, I don't know how. I remember, I think you said you rather play the physical guys than the shifty guys because you were a bigger guy yourself. But I feel like with the bigger guys, from what I've seen and watching film for a couple of years now, it's those guys you're better off pressing them and getting physical with them initially. Instead of letting them build up their momentum and let you get into them at the routes that like the route breaks, because like guys like Gronkowski, if you let him build up momentum, he's like a freight train. Think about like running backs like Derrick Henry. I want to get into him quick. Obviously that they're ever running back, but letting them build up speed and build up momentum is not a good idea.
Right? It's better to catch them early, because now, especially with a lot of big guys, it's hard for them to stop and start getting back into full speed. So the earlier you catch them, the better it is for you, when you're pressing. So yeah, with big guys, you probably want to catch them as early as you can. And, at that point, they're either out of the route, or by the time they get into the route, the play is over. But you want to be the one to establish control, at the line of scrimmage when you're pressing.
Yeah, he and like I said, Hopkins. I like Hopkins. I just don't like him as much as I used to after really watching his film. A lot of simple releases, and then just relies plainly on physicality. So I would probably say like Julio. I think Odell, and it hasn't been in a couple of years, but he's more dangerous than a guy like Hopkins to me. Obviously Brown, if he's back into the league, but regardless, he's still a top 5 receiver to me. He's just not. Yeah. Maybe 1 or 2 like he used to be after really watching him, which is why you should watch film and why people should watch film before establishing opinions on people. But top of the screen, again, a little bit of no man's land. The ball is at the 27. He's at the 25, a little bit behind the 25. And it's it's really similar to the last reps we've watched. Wait onto the heels with that false step, pads raise up. He angles off because Hopkins stems him a little bit to the outside. And because he angles off, now it's easier for Hopkins to get inside if he defeats that like containment punch in the right hand, which he actually doesn't even punch. He turns, but Hopkins has the inside, and it's wide open. Does he get hit? Yeah, he gets hit. But it's similar as the last 2 reps we've watched. There's really not much difference in this rep. Yeah,
there's not much difference. I mean, honestly, he's actually like if you go back to the alignment, he's actually not. If you got a soft press like this actually isn't bad. It actually looks further than where he is. So ball's on the 27. He's right on the 25. That's 2 yards. I don't have a problem with that. It looks further than what it is. The problem is once Hopkins takes his release, the first thing he does is, like you said, he gets the stem from Hopkins, and this is where his eyes are wrong, because Hopkins' lower body doesn't move. It's his head. Look, he's leaning more so than running to the outside. So that's his eyes. Desir's eyes are bad at that point.
Yeah, they look high right here.
Yeah, he's looking high. Hopkins, all he's doing is leaning to the outside. Desir starts to lock at, starts to turn, and he locks himself out. Hopkins is just, okay, well, let me straighten up, and I'm gonna run this in cut. And so now you're locked out. So now, obviously, you're playing catch up, trying to turn. And then once he turns, the first thing he does is look back at the quarterback and then try to chase Hopkins. This is just the point of, having bad eyes, as opposed to staying square, looking at his belt buckle, reading his hips. Because at that point, like you said, Hopkins had simple releases. All he had to do was stay square and shuffle laterally, and he would have been all over the route. It would have been a dead route at that point.
Yeah, and and I mentioned that in my weaknesses. I didn't do the weaknesses this week because I did it. If you want to go back, you can listen. Obviously not you, but if other people haven't caught that, obviously this is it's part 2 of the Desir review. I said that when he gets beat, his eyes immediately go back to the quarterback, which is an issue in itself. There were some plays I saw that he could have made up ground, because while Desir isn't necessarily the fastest, like top speed athlete in terms of his twitch and short area explosion type deal, I think he's pretty athletic in that sense. And I think for how big he is, he's pretty fluid. I don't know if we're going to see a great example of that, upcoming, but that is one of his issues. Again, now he's matching Hopkins. The one positive, he was definitely he was their number 1 guy with the Colts, because he followed the number 1 really, really frequently, no matter where they went. So that's a positive. He has reps against the top guys, but he played some good games against Hopkins, some not as well. The first 2 reps we watched were a little bit better. This one's again 3 yards off. Looks like heads up to outside, which I'm obviously heads up to outside for a slot is fine, at least in my opinion. But again, you're kind of pressing while not pressing. Now you're not going to really use your hands unless you're super patient with your feet and your hips. And you're going to shuffle to stay over the top, which I'm assuming me labeling this Desir starting to get beat inside a lot is not going to happen. Right. So let's it's really similar. This time it doesn't look like he angled off as bad, but again, letting Hopkins build up momentum, it's not a good idea.
Right. Where he gets in trouble here is he stays square. That part is good. Right here, he should be punching a lot earlier. Like, he's waiting too late. Hopkins is already on his toes now and getting ready to go into the route. You gotta, when you're soft pressing like this, he's good being patient. But at this point is where you got to punch, or at least try to get your hands on him. You can't let him get into your body and then get into the route. So here, the feet and the patience were good, but he didn't throw his hands, and disturb the route early enough like he should have. He waited till too late, to Hopkins to get into his body. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but it does look like his eyes are back to the quarterback again here, which could be an issue. But again, like I said, like I feel like if he was to, and even like, so he does that little false step. He's not completely off balance here, and he does get it. He pops up a little bit, but it's not like terribly off balance. But like you said, you need to throw a punch. Like, you can't just consistently press and just not get your hands on. Then just play off and take your read steps. Even though I know the read steps from the slot's a little bit more difficult. But at the same time, you got to do something against Hopkins. Obviously, he gets beat right there. Now it's 3rd and 1 instead of hopefully 3rd and 11. So moving on again, and I feel like when's the last time I did a review where we were really positive on a guy? I don't remember when it was. I know it's been a minute.
Yeah, I don't do these reviews to be negative on guys. I just want to give my honest opinions of guys. Like, that's why Greg Dortch didn't work out. Ashton Davis might not work out. I hope he does. He's raw. Desir, there's Jets fans who think he's like a legit number 1, and Bless Austin's gonna be legit number 2. He's not a legit number 1. I think he's like a decent to below average number 2. I don't think you've seen enough film to agree with me there, Marcus, yet. But there's guys I'm positive on. The Fant review I'm more positive on. Greg Van Roten positive on, but secondary players, I feel like I'm a little bit more of a stickler on, especially from learning from guys like you. And I think it's, I'm comfortable with this position. But again, here, 21, he's at the 24. So it's not too bad, but press him.
He's close. Yeah.
He keeps getting beat by playing this soft shoe catch coverage, whatever you want to call it. I consider soft shoe more when you're closer in press, and then you backpedal, where catch or like this like squat coverage is more when you're already 2 to 3 yards off to start. It's just difference in terminology. Right. But what's different from the last rep? It's really, there's really not much here.
There's not a whole lot of difference.
But the thing is, and the sideline DB coach, you have the tablets. You're seeing that he consistently false stepping way onto the heels, pops up, not getting hands on, throwing it too late. Again, similar to the last rep, and he beats you inside on this. Whether it be a deep over that he angled off a little bit or dig, whatever you want to call it. But now he's beat again. Boom, catch.
Yeah, I mean, it's no different than other reps, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, especially, here's the thing: when you're that far off, you don't give yourself an opportunity to. You can't give that much ground. I mean, if you're 2 yards, probably another 2 yards, and still be able to get your hands on guys. But when you're at this depth and you're right at, because the problem with no man's land is when you're pressing, this close to it, is usually, especially on whether it be slants, quick overs or what it drags, whatever you want to call it, that wide receivers run, you're right at their break point. So you don't have an opportunity to establish any kind of ground or any control, because if you're trying to punch him while he's going into his break, especially if you're giving up if you're losing leverage, it just makes it easier for him to get into his break, because you're trying to throw and you're off balance and he's breaking, running into the break. And you're trying to stop him. Like, it's too late at that point.
Now, and this is a good example. And listen, I'm not tackling Marcus Coleman regardless, but I have a better chance if I'm going to try to tackle him when he has a yard of build up versus him getting 5 to 10 yards of build up. It's the same type of situation. You want to get into him before they build up momentum, especially a guy like Hopkins. So this is cover 2. I don't know if he's to the top or to the bottom here. He's to the top.
Yeah, it looks like he's at the top.
So this is honestly there's a pretty easy interception, to be completely honest. They're playing in cover 2. He's that cloud corner. Now I like that he's at least, and he does angle off, so maybe he could shuffle stay over the top a little bit, but he gets his hands on, he gets a little bit of a reroute. He passes him off, and obviously he sees the guy leaking out, and quarterback overthrows it. By the way, and this is something I said last week, so I don't know if you're going to agree with me here because you watch a lot of football in Texas. I like Watson. I'm not as high on Watson as some others are. Like, I think he's really good, but people put him in a category of Russell Wilson, those type of guys. I think he's really solid. I just don't think he's the end-all, be-all. He's had, obviously, some offensive line issues, but watching some of his film, especially in this review against the Colts, I think it was 3 games I watched. He's solid, but I'm not as high on him as the national media. I don't think. I don't know where you stand on Watson.
I mean, I like him. I think number one, he's not in the category of Russell Wilson yet. So let's just dispel that. I don't know what person wrote that, but they have no idea what they're looking at. He's not in that category yet.
No, I think it's Mahomes, Wilson, 1 and 2, whoever you want to put them. Listen, I think if you put Wilson on the Chiefs, he'd have a lot of success too. So they're 1 and 2. I don't know who's 1, who is 2. I just think the Seahawks have done him a disservice with the offensive line they've given him throughout his career. So
yeah, I mean, but Deshaun has that now. Does Deshaun have a chance to be in that category? Yeah, because he has all the tools. I think there are. What the media misses because they just watch the game. There are some reads that he misses. He has had some, careless turnovers in regards to interceptions, things like that. But I mean, again, we got to remember, I mean, it's only second year guy, whatever he is. So, he's young, he's
going into his 4th year.
Oh yeah, you're right. He's going to his
Darnold's going to his 3rd. Yeah.
This is his 3rd year. Yeah, you're right. So, I mean, he's still working his way in. I mean, tell you the truth, and there's not too many quarterbacks that I can think of, even whether it be Tom or Peyton or whatever it is. I mean, it took him a little bit of time to get used to everything. So he's still trying to figure it, not necessarily figure it out, but he's fine tuning, and he'll get there. He's just, I'm not going to put him up there with Russell Wilson right now, though.
Yeah, people seem to talk him in that sense, like he's like number 3 or 4. I don't know if I'm going to put him that high, honestly. Right now, with the old guys getting older, I don't like the top play of quarterbacks. It's not what it was. Like, there's not as many guys right now.
There's not.
Like Deshaun is good, but I don't think he's elite. Like Rodgers is falling off. Brady is not what he used to be. I don't care what anybody says. I've watched him for 2 years now. Like the last 2 years, he's been on the decline. Rivers, Big Ben, like they're all falling off. Dak's all right too. I'm not as high on Dak as some people are. So I don't feel like the top play is there. Where like a couple of years ago, it was Rivers and Brady and Roethlisberger, and you had Wilson, obviously. it's fallen off a little bit, but it's and that's the important thing you said. Like, he's in his 4th year, he's still developing. Sam Darnold going into his 3rd year, who had the worst run game in the league last year and had the 31st ranked offensive line in terms of snap to throw with him getting pressured or hit. He's going to improve too. At least I think. Yeah. So we'll see. They made some investments, but I already kind of described this play. Do you have anything to add? I think it's a pretty generic cover 2 interception with Watson, throwing the ball off of his back foot and just floating it over the running back who floats out into the flat.
Yeah, no, this is a simple play, to tell you the truth. I mean, he does do a good job of funneling the guy to the safety, opens his hips. He can see, he can play the 7 if need be, but he still gives himself a chance to, come back down on any short routes out in the flat, things like that. So, no, this is a pretty standard 2 play. I mean, it's how it should look. So,
yeah, there's some plays where like, it's just I'll see it and people are like, oh my god, this play is so good. I'm like, it was pretty generic. Like,
it was that's
what he was supposed to do.
It's pretty regular. Yeah, that's
to be honest. If he didn't make that play, I would be pretty pissed. So
exactly,
he made the play he should have made. It wasn't like anything elite, Okay, so top of the screen again. That no man's land. I don't get it. I don't. Now it's 4 yards.
Yeah, he's off pretty far right now. Yeah.
So I'm assuming he's going to get beat. Maybe he doesn't though. I think. Okay, so this is a play. So I like the recovery here, but obviously the first phase again. We get rinse and repeat what we've said.
Yeah.
Eyes go back to the quarterback.
Yep. Immediately.
But now he shows that makeup speed and he chops down on the ball. So good play on the ball and good length and quick area explosion. So good traits he play here, but the technique isn't there.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, I like the recovery. It definitely shows that he has the burst. I just give yourself a chance earlier. It would be my only, move up a couple of yards and give yourself a chance earlier. I mean, honestly, if you're up a couple of yards and you can get some hands on him and disrupt the route a little bit more, this ball may not even get thrown.
Because honestly, this ball should get thrown here. It is thrown a little late. So Watson actually gives him the chance to make up here.
Right. Yeah, actually he does. Yeah, he throws it late.
Yeah.
So,
and he was looking there
the whole time. Yeah. So he throws it late. So he just needs to move up, another yard or 2 and give himself a chance. Just so you're not caught in this position. You have to be the one, like I say, and I always say this, you have to be the one dictating everything at the line of scrimmage, not the wide receiver. You have to be the one to try to establish the control and not react off of what the wide receiver does.
Well, I agree with that too, because I feel like at the line for the corner, like that's when you have the most control, because once you let them release, they have so many different things you could do that you're running backwards in a compromised position. So when it's mano a mano and you're trying to release and get past me and I'm right in front of you, it gives you a lot more of a chance to contain the guy. Like if you're playing, if it's like you're playing tag and you're starting my arm's length away, I'm gonna have a better chance of tagging you than if I was 5 yards off. You can do so much shit that I'm gonna get my ankles broken.
Right.
For the most part, obviously. Okay, so he is to the top again.
Yep.
So this isn't and this is why I think it's important to watch film. There's a lot of people who do watch film and they just go into either deflection or a pass call on them and they don't watch these type of plays. So it's obviously pretty similar. We're gonna criticize the obviously the fact that he's off the line and at least a little bit too far. This isn't as dramatic as it was the last time, but there still is 3-4 yards of distance. Hopkins is not on the line of scrimmage, which I guess he technically should be, right, at this point. Backs up. So the thing I like about this play is, again, it's a traitsy thing. So I have an issue with the eyes right here because, again, he sells it pretty well. He gives him like this little that rocker step out, as I call it, at the top.
Right.
And he opens up. Now he slingshots himself back inside. I don't know if you have a different terminology for that, but gets his hand on the chest and it allows him to flip his hips like that. So the length is good and the recovery is good. Just the technique, again, is kind of off at the beginning. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, no, it's just a technique. Once he gets the rocker step, he gets back on his heels. Instead of, keeping the pressure, on the medial part of, of his feet, on the inside. Everything is controlled, from, there's a line that should run right from the medial part of both of your feet all the way up the inside of your groin. That's where all your control is.
Yeah, the insteps, yeah.
Yes. So that's where all of your control is. That's what allows you to move laterally. That's where your brakes come from. Like everything, all of your power, in that, regarding those movements comes from that area. So once he gets the rocker steps, you see, he, kind of gets off balance and he gets wide. And yeah, he has to throw his hand out. He doesn't have a choice, at this point. So it's all at the beginning. I mean, now does he make up and get back on the route? Yeah. I mean, I give him that. So I'm not going to take that away from him because it's never going to be perfect. But you're always looking. I mean, again, you're always looking to improve.
Yeah. Worst case scenario again, if Hopkins is ready for that hand, and he chops down. Now you're screwed. So now he's off balance and he's beat easily on the, whatever you want to call it, deeper slant. And who cares? A lot of people they get crazy to terminology, like what they want to call it, just whatever. But the technique here again, it's off. I like the length and the slingshot himself back inside. Let's go to the next play. 43 out of 51. We're about to hit. So again, like I said, it's relatively short. This one, I don't want to keep Marcus for too long. Marcus thinks I do enough plays already, so I can't keep him for too long. He is on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's
Same
all
thing.
It's and this is the thing. Like, so it's been a span of multiple games. Why does it not change? I don't know. Because it's the same exact thing, weight on the heels, and now his pad level doesn't pop up as much, but his weight are still on his heels. He angles off a little bit right there. Looks like his eyes are high, not low. Throws that contain punch. He swipes it away, chops it away, and now he's beat. And looks like his eyes are back to the quarterback right here. Yeah.
So. I mean, even if he gets caught in this position, I mean, one, he throws with the wrong hand. Remember, you got to throw with the offhand. So wide receiver's going inside, he should be throwing with his left hand instead of his right hand.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the natural tendency, obviously, just because your natural instinct is you want to throw with the hand nearest to where the person is going. But in order to give yourself a chance to turn and run with the route, you want to throw with the left hand. Like you always. So here, it should have been offhand, boom, and now he's running with the route. And obviously, I think he probably stays on top of the route as opposed to being caught from behind, throwing the near hand. You always want to throw the offhand.
And now another criticism of his eyes going back is you can see how it affects him in recovery, where he gets a little bit lost. Or you see, I'll go to the point. I'll go to point to the screen sometimes, and I realize people can't see what I'm saying. But his angle's higher right here because his eyes are back. And then he changes his angle. He might have been able to make that up if he flattened his angle out because his eyes are on the receiver like they should have been. Right.
Yeah. Because I mean, it's just like if you're driving or if you're walking. If you're looking one way and you're driving or whatever it is, naturally you drift. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same thing when you're running. It's no different. If I'm looking at the quarterback but I'm still running, I'm going to drift away. Not only am I going to lose ground, but I'm going to drift as well, which is what happened right there.
There's a ton of motorcycle accidents that happen like that, actually, where people are looking where they're looking to somewhere else than where they're going, and a lot of accidents that actually happen like that. And you're talking about the leverage thing, and the insteps instead of like the heels or the outside of your foot. And there's so many times where I go to explain leverage or elbows or hand angles or something like that, and I'm like, I try to describe it. I'm like, listen, it's just a freaking science. I can't tell you exactly why that is, but I try to explain it as best I can. So here, I thought this was like it looks like a first in, first out type of coverage, but at the same time, it almost looks a little bit off, where it looks like this guy was locked on the outside and he was locked on Evans, who's up, just because of how they take it right here.
Yeah, and sometimes it happens like that.
It looks like
that's why they're lined up behind each other the way that they are. And obviously, I mean, tell you the truth, this is a good job of film study by them. I mean, the only thing that I would say is because you really coming out of bunch sets like this, you don't really necessarily know, who's going to go first. But if you're watching film, you know who's going to go first, and it allows you take one, you take two. The only thing I would say is the corner that's pressed up a little bit more needs to slide over inside, like a half a step, so he can take that inside route.
So he's man on Evans. He is able to stay over the top. Obviously, his hips are open, so he is a little bit susceptible right now to any if he was like pressing outside and was to run like a short slant or something like that. So that's a little bit of the criticism, but he is able to stay over the top, and I like the. So this is where I talk about like the fluidity in the hips right there with that step. I do like that for sure.
Yeah. No, he's a fluid enough corner. You can, even though we critique him on it, just the way that he plays press, he's got he has the hips to be able to flip in and out of breaks and move laterally. Like he has that. Like that's not the issue. The issue is I think he gets too soft, while he's pressed up on the line of scrimmage, and that's the main thing that gets him in trouble. That and his eyes, is kind of the thing that gets him in trouble. So, I mean, and this is fairly easy to cover, even though I would have liked him from the jump. If they're going to both line up square, you line up square too.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I probably would have put them side by side at 5 yards and, all right, let's play in and out from that, from that regard, as opposed to from, right here. Because nobody touches anybody anyway, so you might as well line up at 5 and make it look like something else and just play in and out.
Yeah, because if he was in the knife inside, it's, he's pretty screwed. Obviously.
Yeah. So I put them side by side at 5. Like, all right, you got first in, you got first side. All right, let's play ball, and then just let the routes develop. And they come to you.
Yeah, like I said, just note obviously he gets stemmed outside, and then he just gets stabbed inside, and that fluidity in the fluidity in the hips to react to that stab, and then still get outside on him, length right there to punch. I like that part of it, but the technique is still a little bit off, but definitely, like I said, a long, fluid athlete, which is good. Top end speed, he might not be able to keep up with Tyreek Hill, but who can?
Exactly.
So, and we'll see. I don't know how he's gonna. I wonder how the Jets are gonna play their defense this year. I'm really curious to see if they're gonna play more. Like I think it's like press man, cover 3, cover 2. I'm not too sure how much they're gonna run. I know that they do Tampa 2 though, but I'm interested to see. I think he's fluid enough to play Tampa 2. Or 2 in general, just because he is short area he has a short area explosion. He has the length, but I'm not sure other guys do on the team. So I'm interested to see.
Yeah, well, the defense that the Colts run is similar to what the Jets run,
which is why they grabbed. They're Colts East. They have Mateus Farley. They have Quincy Wilson. They have Pierre Desir. They have Nate Harrison, who's a corner there. So that's why they pick him up.
The only thing that's really different is I think some of the games up front involving the linebackers are a little different, like some of the stunts or some of the blitzes.
Oh yeah.
But most of but they play man, they play Tampa. Those are kind of their go-tos. So,
what are your thoughts on this play?
Go back to the beginning.
I don't think you're gonna like this one. Yeah,
I don't even know what that is. That's pointless. Yeah. That's pointless. Now, unless he got caught, unless he was going to bail. Well, no, he didn't get caught. He was just there. Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Yeah, he gears down like he's going to like find the ball. He's like looking at the ball, and he gets caught. Obviously, slowing up right here, and Evans just blows right by him. Like, get your hand on him, squeeze him to the sideline, get contact. You just lost one of your senses, and you just got burned deep by a guy who hurt his hamstring. Well, after here, it looks like he hurt his hamstring.
Yeah, but that's one of the main problems of corners playing hips to the sideline, especially when you're trying to you give that much space.
Yeah,
because you lose sight of them, because now you're trying to read the quarterback and you're trying to see the wide receiver out of your periphery, and that's almost impossible unless you're just completely on top of the guy. You're never going to see him. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, and if you are playing like that bail, like that shuffle technique, like you at least have to make sure you have outside leverage. You can see him, like let the break to the inside, but you can't play shuffle or bail or whatever and let him. I'll call it more shuffle and let him get outside of you. That just doesn't happen.
Right.
So, because if he did fight to maintain outside leverage here, obviously he stacks me, say there's a top, then maybe he has to cut back inside, and then he could stand the hip, but he looks back to the ball right here, never tries to find him, and he just gets beat deep. Like, I don't know if he underestimated Evan's speed or what it was, but that can't happen.
Yeah, that's just bad. That's honestly just bad technique all the way around.
Yeah, it's gonna, like I said, Morris Claiborne type vibes. There's one play that's really gonna piss me off in a couple of plays, I know. So get prepared for that. Oh, okay. We have about 10 more plays, so relatively, I was wrong about 51. So let's see. Decent man rep. All right, top. He's a little bit tired to the line of scrimmage here. He's just not on the line of scrimmage who he's playing, so that's not that bad.
Right.
I call it decent. Let's see if it is decent. All right. Did he get picked? No, he didn't.
No, he didn't. But
So,
that's actually not bad.
mm-hmm.
I think
would you call it decent?
yeah, that is decent. The only thing that I don't like is but you kind of have to
The pads too. Okay.
is the pads, and he just lets him cut across his body immediately.
Yes.
But right there, I mean, if you go back to what a lot of scrimmage was and where they took off, he hits him at a great spot. So now he hits him kind of a yard or so after the line of scrimmage. That's actually good. So now you're good. So now get your hand down so you don't have your, so you're not grabbing pads and things like that, because so far you're winning the rep. Now don't get called for a stupid penalty because you're grabbing up top. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know why guys do that. Why they're so handsy. You always got to feel like you got to grab. Like you see the dude right in front of you. But other than that, just not letting them cut across. Being able to gain access, right across them immediately. Is kind of the thing.
Yeah, because if this ball was put in front of, I don't know who 17 is, to be honest. I don't know what his name is. If this ball was put in front of him, he probably is beat right here.
Yeah, catch. It's probably a catch.
Yeah, because his eyes are back again. So, at the same time, somebody would be like, oh, his eyes are back. He almost got the interception. But at the same time, if the ball was placed well, then it's probably a catch on him. And obviously, Hooker was there. I think 29 is Hooker. But still, it's a little sketchy. So that's why I called it a decent rep. Like, it was all right, but at the same time,
he was
some improvements.
He was good all the way up until he let him. Basically, he let him, body him up and cross his face.
Cross his face, yeah.
In the beginning, he actually wasn't bad. That time, he was more patient at the line. He actually stabbed earlier. He established control. You just got to maintain that control all the way through the rep.
Mm-hmm. All right, so have him to the bottom. Again, I think this is a little bit better of a rep. Less of a again to the bottom. I don't know if I said that. A little bit less of a false step. It is a false step, but it's not. His weight isn't automatically back on his heels. Like he still has shoulders over knees. Like that. That's good. A little bit more patient. Mm-hmm. He throws a hand. He looks like he lands the hand.
Mm-hmm.
Now maybe you'd like to see him shuffle and stay over the top a little bit instead of opening up and giving him that immediately. But again, decent. Gets his hand on and looks like his eyes are on him. Squeezes him to the sideline. So I like that rep. Yeah,
that was actually a good rep. Just the only thing I would say is, just when you throw the hand, just make sure you get a little closer. Squeeze, and the way I like it, if you got a hand on him and you're pushing him, you push his ass all the way to the front row.
Yeah,
just keep pushing him. I mean, you might as well. So that's the only thing that I would say. Like and that's part of being in control. Like at that point, you're in control. And now you do with him, as you wish. So just keep squeezing him.
Yeah, and if he were to say a little more square here too, and maybe say over the top, obviously it's a more effective punch, and then he has to. It makes a harder angle to go around because when obviously, like I said, when he opens it, now he can just take this. Where if he was to say a little bit more square, now he has to kind of bow his route out to the sideline, and it aids him in squeezing him to the sideline. So, again, there's some improvement. I don't think, and I think corners in those positions, like you can criticize almost every single rep of a corner because that's such a hard position to play. Right. Minus like Revis on a few reps or whoever, but I'm sure there's plays where even Revis can improve on something.
Yeah, no, corner is one of those deals where you can there's always something. Whether it could be footwork, hands, there's always something.
Yeah, so he's to the bottom right here. This is where I get those Morris Claiborne vibes where he's in the shuffle and he just makes it too easy on guys. Looks like you have cover one hole, and he's shuffling and he opens his hips up to run deep, like right here, like way too early. So like I said, anything but a deep route he's beat just right now because of his hips. So I don't get it. He gets beat on a comeback, really, really easily. Look at this room.
Let me see what number that is. Can you tell what number that is for New Orleans? It looks like 10.
If it is, no, it looks like, was that a 4?
I can't really tell. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, and the only reason why I say that is because, if it's 10 again, like I get why you may play off. Now, I don't get why you would play off like this.
Yeah, I can't see the number.
You don't give yourself a chance. I mean, you're basically giving them the route at this point. And, I think it's second and, I know it's second and 5. I mean, because
like second and 3, it looks like
second
right
and
there.
3 or something like, Yeah, I'm trying to see where the stick is cut off. Yeah. But and teams like the Saints, they like to take shots on second down, especially like second and short, second and 36 or 35, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I get the thinking behind it, but technically it's still bad though.
Just at least give yourself a chance. Like I get the shuffle, and like you said, like maybe film study. They like to take shots here, 2nd and 3, but at the same time, like don't have your hips completely open to run. Like
right,
his hips. There's no way he's getting back on that.
Right, because at the end of the day, it's still man. So at least you still got to give yourself a chance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Okay, play 49 man rep versus Thomas. Let's see if this works out well. I know there's a play that's coming up in the Saints game that I really do not like. All right, so honestly, not a bad rep, a perfect throw and a perfect catch, but again, he's not as far off, but still kind of far off at the same time. False step, way under the heels, helmets or pads pop up, angles off. He gets both hands on, which is good. Eyes go back to the ball. It's really not a terrible rep, I don't think, Marcus. I don't know if you agree, but it's just perfect catch, perfect throw is really almost impossible to beat unless you play it perfectly.
Yeah. What I don't like about it is go back to the beginning and leave it still. Okay, the Colts do like to play when they're playing their man free stuff or whatever it is. They do like to play head up the outside. Okay, well, Michael Thomas is 3 yards outside the numbers here. Mm-hmm. Just by rule, I'm gonna line up inside.
Yep.
Anyway, because
he's on up that wide, he wants to go inside.
Right, because now and now just by rule, like I have the advantage because if he does release outside, I have less, he has less room to work outside, and it gives me the advantage. I can squeeze him more to the sideline as a play in here, as opposed to here. By you lining head up the outside, and he's already 3 yards outside the numbers, you just created more room for him by giving him that space. So yeah, he may be on him outside in, but look at the hole, and you're getting double slant. So now there's a bigger hole. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, yeah. I get it completely. Yeah.
Yeah. So the inside's got running the slant. Mm-hmm. He's creating space, and he's creating space for Michael Thomas because he knows that, okay, well, they like to play head up the outside. Cool. All right. Well, you run a slant and I'm running a slant right behind you. And there's going to be this huge hole there, he gets back. But it still puts him behind. And yes, it is a great throw and catch.
Mm-hmm.
But you could give yourself more, a better chance if you were actually head up, or if you're playing more head up the inside, and it gives you a better chance of route.
No, it's important too. Like, and I don't know if I mentioned that when I did the review, but it's a good point in terms of alignment. Like, changing your alignment based on their alignment's important. So if he's already this far outside, he wants to go inside. So cheat inside because you have the ability to cheat inside because he's so close to the sideline that if you just play it decently outside, you're going to squeeze him. So. Right. Yeah, that's a good point for sure.
Yeah.
So
that's like little things, and I know. I mean, you've learned to do that the more film that you've been watching. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't see that. You have to see the alignment of the wide receivers. Is he on the numbers? Is he, midpoint the numbers, outside the numbers? The thing, for example, I was watching the old film. They were showing old practices of Jerry Rice and how Bill Walsh ran. They were just kind of showing. It was the history of Bill Walsh, but they were showing practices. And I was listening to to them talk about Bill Walsh, but they were showing Jerry Rice run. I think it's run there, and it's their famous like post corner or post out route is what they call it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was literally like I picked up on it immediately. So near hash, out 1 yard outside edge of the numbers, you getting post out. If it's in the middle of the field, they line up in the middle of the numbers, they run the post out. If it's far hash, they lined up 1 yard inside the numbers and you get the post out. Mm-hmm. So it's just like little stuff like that a lot of people don't pick up on. But, when you're playing corner, like you have to see that. You have to know where the ball is, which hash is it on. Okay, where's he line up? Okay, he's midpoint of the numbers. Okay, I may be getting this and this. And then you can play ball at that point.
Yeah, and that's a frustrating thing when I see these consistent alignments of him playing, too far off or doing whatever, because people don't realize, like in the NFL, like you have coaches who are watching, okay, on 3rd and 5 in this situation of the game, on this part of the field, they tend to run this, and this guy does this route. Like they have the analytical side like down where they give you the percentages. Mm-hmm. The DB coach breaks it down. This is what he likes to do. This is what. So I don't know how they allow these guys to keep playing like that no man's land type stuff, because they break down every single situation against every single defense and every single situation in the game. Like it's crazy how much shit there is that NFL players are fed, and they should be doing on themselves, by themselves as well. That's why the guys like Revis and Jamal Adams like were elite type players, So
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of info. There's honestly, there's so much information that's given, and you have to remember and understand, and then you have to really be able to execute it and know what it is in like fractions of a second.
Oh yeah, shots being fired quick. Like,
yeah,
you gotta.
So you have to know everything in a fraction of a second. Then you gotta play ball. Then you go back and you get a different set of circumstances, different formation, different whatever. And you have to know that be able to decipher that information at the same time, and it keeps changing all the time. So I mean, there's a lot. Like you said, there's a ton that goes into it. And as a corner, you definitely have to know all of that stuff.
That's like I'll be at a bar at a game and they're like, "This play sucked," and I'm like, "Fuck." I'm like, I'm not even gonna comment because like, and to be honest, like I know a decent amount, but I don't know shit. Like I don't. So it's crazy to like hear some people's opinions on players. Like, "Oh, this guy sucks." I'm like, based on what? Like, what are you talking about?
Right. That's why.
Or this play sucks, or whatever.
You just gotta learn how to tune them out.
Yeah, like there was even a situation, and it was described like one of the first books I read. I've watched a ton of coaching clinics, like Jim McNally, stuff for the offensive line, et cetera, DBs, and Mark Parsons. He does stuff on Twitter. Like there's a bunch of guys I watched to learn. And there was actually a situation where guys were arguing for the Seattle play call where they didn't run the ball. And basically, it was because I forget how they described it, but it was actually a really good argument for why they passed the ball right there, because they felt like that was the last situation they could pass based on timeout, something like that. So like, but everybody, whatever. We're not going to get into that conversation. I would like to read it from the book because just people don't really know. I don't know. And maybe they should have ran the ball with Marshall Lynch, but the pass call wasn't actually as bad as some people think it is based on the situation in the game and the timeouts they had and the time in the game. Right. If they were going to pass, that was the only play they could do. They could have done. I think it was like one timeout, second down, so they needed to pass the ball. I forget what it was, to be honest. Yeah. So, this is the really frustrating play. Top of the screen right here, he's playing like that. I call it like 2 LOS, like 2 line of scrimmage, or an angle off your hips. You're gonna squeeze anything inside or press anything inside, whatever. This is Taysom Hill, and he gets beat by Taysom Hill for a touchdown in really frustrating fashion. Again, if that's your man, if that's your assignment, that's your man, that's your assignment. His eyes are inside for way too long. Taysom Hill bends it inside, releases outside in the corner. Now he's beat for a touchdown. Yeah, well, he doesn't make the tackle here. He breaks it, but.
Well, yeah. I mean, the first thing is, I don't like that alignment.
Okay.
And secondly, yeah. I mean, you're staring at Drew the whole way.
Mm-hmm.
He's staring at the quarterback the entire time. Like especially in this situation where you've got and I guess you could say he's an H-back. Hill is so. Mm-hmm. Even though it's unbalanced, I mean, it's still a heavy formation. All right, yes, you possibly can get run, but with Hill out there on the edge, your chances of pass go up. So make sure you're eyeing him, because I don't think they want him to do too much blocking. Make sure you keep your eyes on Taysom Hill and just get ready to play the route. Him looking back at Drew Brees ain't gonna help him at all.
Yeah, he's leaving. Now he's in no shit mode.
Yeah, he's gone.
And obviously at the top right here, he looks like he has to flatten it out a little bit just to, based on where the ball is at this point too. My problem is here, it looks like he starts to punch that ball out instead of securing the tackle.
Just wrap up, dude. Yeah.
Wrap up.
You see a lot of DBs do that now these days. They rather go for the strip and the punch first than securing the tackle and then going for the strip first.
Yeah, because now it's okay. Well, I got beat, but now I'm going to make you fumble it. And now it's not going to be a bad play for me. But at the same time, make the tackle. Now they're at the 8-yard line, and maybe you shut them down, and now it's a field goal.
Exactly. So fight another day.
You can punch. Like there's certain situations where people can punch the ball out as a first one there, but I've generally been taught second guy there, punch the ball out. Yeah,
second man in. Right, second man in. Unless you have complete control, like if the wide receiver catches it and you have complete control where one arm is completely wrapped around him, now you can maybe slide a punch or two in there before you completely take him down. But like here, he doesn't have a chance.
He's coming into the tackle with the punch.
Just make the tackle at this point.
Yeah, that's a terrible play all around. That's inexcusable to me. Pulled up the wrong window. Okay, play 51 out of 56. Cover 3 rep. This is against the Panthers. I think tennis Curtis Samuel, I believe. I don't know whose number is which with DJ Moore versus Curtis Samuel. That's Samuel. Okay, I was right. Thank you.
Yeah.
So again, shuffle technique. It's better than he still lets him get behind him, which is sketchy.
He gets lucky here. He gets only. It's an underthrow ball. If this is a normal ball, he's done.
Yeah, I think I'm almost 1,000% sure, because what I do is like I record the plays. I don't really watch it. I watch it about 10 times, then I put up my description. I'm almost 100% sure that I said he's lucky here, and if he kept running vertical, he was beat deep. Yeah, now I do like this part. Okay, gets his hand on right here, gets the point of contact, tracks the ball, gets the pass deflection, but at the same time, he's burned if he keeps running.
Done, yeah. If he keeps running, he's done. If this is a good ball, he's done. Like, no, he's got no chance.
Yeah, so lucky, a little bit lucky. I like the hand, the hand to feel him out right there instead of just tracking the ball. So good job with that. But at the same time, you're gonna shuffle. You can't let him get behind you. You just can't. So especially got inside help. I don't know what this defense is. It looks like it might be like a cover 3 or something like that.
Yeah, it's hard to tell what they're playing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, let's go to play 52. Rock in a hard place. I remember putting this as a rock in a hard place, but I remember I gave him a little bit more criticism when I watched this play. Cover 2 on the goal line, in the red zone right here. And the thing is here, they run this smash concept, or you can call it a flat 7, but it's a smash variation right here. They're putting the pressure on the curl to flat. Curl to flat has to play deep to short, like rally, make the tackle. Now it's first and or second and 5 or whatever. I don't know what the down and distance is, or at least what down it is. Okay, so it's first and 10. So I think he needs to play a little bit deeper here, because if this ball is on a line, on a rope, and it's not, what is that, Kyle Allen throwing the ball, he's beat right here. And it should have been a catch, honestly, actually.
Yeah.
So he puts a little bit too deep, but I think he plays this a little bit too. He's choking up a little bit too far up the field.
Well, yeah. The thing I don't really even though it's in the red zone, it's still 2. Like, you still want to create the disruption, within that 5-yard range. So that's the first thing that I don't like. The second thing I don't like is the safety has no idea what he's doing. He's too busy staring at the quarterback. because honestly, that's deep 7 should be more of the safeties, man. The corner's just there for underneath help. That's what people don't get about cover 2. Mm-hmm. The corner's job in cover 2 is you make sure that the ball is thrown over your head to allow the safety to be able to play the deep route. And
you funnel it to allow the safety to get that route.
And you break up and you take the short route. If it's coming out to the flat route, you also, you're there for run support. That's the main job, for the corner and the safety on that side. So, I would like to see Desir be more square here and still jam the wide receiver, which if he does that, it allows the safety to be a little more closer to the 7 route, and it gives him the opportunity to be closer to the flat route at the same time.
Yeah, so it's a shitty play all around then. If you're talking about this, the safety who, like you said, is lost. He's not doing it. Like that was my problem with Ashton Davis's tape. Is he was all athletic traits, but in terms of like reading the quarterback, he just eyes on the quarterback. And if your eyes on the quarterback in the NFL, obviously at certain points they can be, but for the whole rep, you're let's be frank, cover your kid's ears, you're fucked. Like there's no way. So play 53. Desir cover 2, patient length. All right, let's see. He's to the top. That looks like him. Yeah, it's 10:35. All right. So, outside shuffles, gets hands on. Now this is Olsen. Was Olsen still in the Panthers? Yeah, he was still in the Panthers last year, right?
There. Yeah, he was still there.
Yeah, okay, so that's Olsen. I didn't realize we had this view. So a little bit more patient. He doesn't open up completely. I think he opens up maybe a little bit earlier, like right there. Like if it's supposed to be a little bit sharper of a break, you have to do like maybe a speed turn.
Right.
Gets his hands on. And I really like how he plays the ball right here too. Wraps him up. I like that. Punches through. Yeah. Doesn't swipe at it.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this rep?
He stays outside. It's a pick. Make it easy on yourself. I mean, if you maintain the outside leverage and not let Olsen cross your face instead of having to fight to knock it down, I mean, it's a pick.
Yeah, and that's my thing with his hips right here too. Is like I feel like he's playing a little bit too conservatively with a bigger, like with a tight end, because if he was to have his hips a little bit more I guess like square to Olsen instead of opening up. Like even if Olsen did run like a post or right to the back of the end zone line, he can make it that ground up.
Yeah.
So I think he plays almost a little bit too conservatively, and that's why Olsen gets outside.
And he's got a safety sitting there, even though I don't know if I would necessarily trust him because he's too flat-footed. But yeah, just hold your outside leverage, and it's an easy interception, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. No, good length, good power, I guess, to match him at the top of the route break. Plays the ball well. That's where the length comes in right there. I talk about like that quarter of an inch. That inch matters.
Mm-hmm.
And good, like I said, good job. Like kind of almost more stabbing through than swiping. Swiping, you kind of give yourself like that half a second window to play the ball. Where if you stab through, it's through the entire time your arm is stabbed through, which is longer than a swipe. So.
Yeah, well, yeah, like I said, it's not going to always be perfect. He made the play, again. But if we're nitpicking and critiquing, that would be my criticism.
That's why you're here, and that's why I do this show. I don't like to just be like, oh, great play, no matter what. If pass deflection means it's a good play, which it was a good play. I still put that in that plus category, but it could have been better.
Mm-hmm.
Top Desir, good press rep. All right, so now. The only thing I'm going to criticize here is that I don't know. Does I go inside right there? I don't know if his eyes are inside right now. I don't know what happens right there.
Yeah, it's hard to see.
But he's square. He stays square. He actually gets his hands on while staying square. Holy shit! Novel concept. It works. Gets his hand on, squeezes him to the sideline, and maybe I don't know if he just had a feel of the quarterback looking back. The only thing is like looking back right here when he's not necessarily hip to hip is a little bit risky, I would say.
Yeah, go back to the beginning. I'm just trying to see what they're playing because they look like they're playing
Tampa too.
Well, they look like they're playing like trap at the top where he is, and they look like they're playing corners at the bottom.
Yeah, maybe that's like a cover 6.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah,
it looks like cover 6.
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah, it looks like you have the deep fourths and then the deep half right there, and he's in a curl flat.
Yeah.
So then I guess you could say, well, why'd you let him get outside? You're supposed to funnel him to the safety.
If they're playing straight too, but some people do trap at a 6 as well.
Oh yeah, I know there's traps at it too.
Yeah, so if they're playing 6 and he's just playing trap technique, in that regard. Again, just going back to what you were talking about earlier, he's square, gets his hands on him, does a good job of forcing the ball always to the sideline.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, the wide outside of the play.
Yeah.
So now, I guess that's mid-shoe, whoever it is. You got to look back and make, throw it somewhere else.
Yeah, is that Minshew? Yeah, I think he's 15, right?
Yeah.
I forget how he played against the. Honestly, after like the Patriots game where they got blown out like 42-0, I just started drinking and watching the games. I don't remember what happened. Not in the moment, but at this time, it's a little fuzzy. All right, good cover 2 rep. He's at the bottom. This is our second to last play. So, okay, so obviously I'm going to assume that we like how you maintain outside leverage, but you'd like to see him get hands on to jam reroute him.
Exactly.
Now this could have been a trap too, where he was really looking to that number 2 right there, and that number 2 cut out. Now he passes that off to the safeties and to jump the out from the 2. So good makeup speed to get underneath of the throw it here and get the tip, good length and stuff like that. But
yeah, definitely has a good leg. Yeah, I just like to see him get. Because that's the thing, you get hands on it, puts you. Even if he's playing trap from that position, just getting hands on the number 1 wide receiver will put him closer to the out. They work hand in hand.
Yeah. Well, now you have less distance to cover because now you have hands on, and now you're not trying to run with him deep while trying to have to to plant and break on that. So you put yourself in a better position. Yeah. All right. So decent play again, could improve some stuff, but last play, let's see what this is. Are we gonna end bad we're gonna end bad? Okay. It is what it is. Okay. So my criticism here, I guess, too far off 3rd and 3. Looks like he's to the bottom.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, especially on 3rd and 3.
What are you doing there? I don't get that. You're shuffling, bailing, whatever. 3rd and 3, short in. You're gonna get beat 10 times out of 10.
Yeah, this
is just situational. Understand. Yeah, game awareness. Like, what are you doing here? So the double in, or the slant in the end. Yeah, this is too easy. Like you said, like what Michael Thomas saying before, like this short end is to if there was zone, like draw anything in from there, and then you're just working the outside here. So it's like it's probably like an inside out read. Yeah, reading inside to outside, wide open, way too easy.
Yeah, way too easy. Yeah, and that linebacker's never going to get there, not from the middle spot. There's too much ground to cover.
No, no way.
Yeah. I know they're playing man. So if you think 3rd and 3, obviously you want to move and press. You don't want to be in a situation where you're bailing off, on something, 3rd and 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So, and there were some good plays that you did not see, Marcus. I don't know if there's anything I should really bring up. It was generally the same. Like when he uses his physicality, when he stays square, it's pretty good. The fluidity, the length. Things like that are all positives. The technique is off at some points, but what are your overall thoughts on like kind of from what you've seen, what Desir is, what he offers to the Jets? Like, and I know people like to put labels on, which I don't like saying, number 1, number 2, but because of fans like to hear that stuff. Is he a decent number 2? I call him like a below average to decent number 2. I think that's what he can be. But people who think he's like a good number 1, I think they're far off. Honestly, I think on a good team, he's a good depth, like 3rd, 4th guy. I think for the Jets, he's going to be like hopefully an okay number 2. But I think if he is playing against like guys, we play guys like Hopkins this year. We play Stephon Diggs. He's gonna get torched a little bit this year. I think, but I think he's not terrible.
Who's number 1 on the Jets right now?
He is.
Exactly. So he's your number 1. I do like his length and his athleticism. He's not super fast, which we've seen, but his burst is good. Technically, he needs to clean up a lot, and I don't know if it's going to change from because he's so used to playing in that.
He's like 28 years old too,
Yeah, and so he's so used to playing in the coach system where they play a lot of their man head up the outside because you have a whole player or they have a post player as well with with Greg Williams where it's kind of the opposite. He's more. Everybody's playing inside, holding you inside, unless something has changed. Just for me watching, I recall that's how he likes it. So has to get used to that, but would just like to see him with that length and his ability to be more physical at the line of scrimmage. But I think, right now he's your number 1. I do agree if he was on a different team, that had decent corners, he'd probably be, God forbid, like he ended up somewhere like Miami, he'd probably be like the 4th dude. To be honest with you, even in New England, he'd probably be like the 3rd or 4th dude.
Yeah, you have McCourty and Gilmore starting over him.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
So like maybe he's a 4th, or even like on a good team like with a good slot, like maybe the slot guy plays on the outside if it's base personnel, which it rarely is, and then the slot guy slides inside when it's 11 personnel, whatever, and he comes in. But like I think he's a 3rd or 4th, like a good number 3 or 4 on a depth chart. But relying on him to start consistently, I'm not the biggest fan. But at the same time, with saying that, I think it's a jump up from what Tremaine Johnson, who got benched last year, and what Darryl Roberts was. Agreed. So, and he's better than Arthur Millette. So he's better than those guys, but the Jets corner position is not fixed. Like you have to hope that Bless Austin, who 6th round pick last year, played relatively well. He got benched, but he played well for 3, 4, 5 games, which is good for a 6th round pick for sure, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And then you have Bryce Hall, who we watched film on, who I think was our last like relatively positive review. He had some things to work on, but you have to hope Hall turns into number 1 too. But I think next year, you're looking at the Jets and you're saying, okay, they still need at least a 1, maybe a 1 and a 2, and you develop guys like you still have Poole in the slot, you have Desir, you have Hall, whatever. But I think you need at least 1 corner for the Jets next year, and you need at least 1 outside linebacker on defense, then offensive line, receiver, et cetera. But any other last words, Marcus? I know we talked about it a bit, before, maybe when we started recording, maybe it was before, but maybe we'll have you back on for Quincy Wilson. And then other than that, like I said, unless there's a game, you want to jump on, we'll be seeing you next offseason. But like I said, if there's a game where it's like 31-28 and Jets was a really good game, you want to come on, and maybe if it's against your Texans, or I think you said you're a Texans fan, but I don't know if you're kind of a Texans and a Jets fan.
No, I claim both.
Well, we don't play the Texans this year anyway, so unless it's like in the wild card.
Right.
Yeah. Which you want, it's not going to happen for the Jets, I don't think. But
yeah. No, honestly, and I know there's only so much that you can do in the offseason. I mean, obviously you address the offensive line issues with which Douglas did.
Yeah.
I would like to have seen him, maybe address the secondary a little bit more because
Logan Ryan is a guy who, sorry to interrupt you, was a guy who was close to signing with the Jets. So maybe if they sign him, because it seemed like they were close, but it seems like Logan Ryan wants around 9-10, and the Jets are willing to give like 7-ish. Like 7, what it seems. Right. So maybe if they sign him, that'll be big, because Logan Ryan's a lot better than Arthur, Merlette, Desir type guys. So maybe if he signs.
Yeah, I mean, because they definitely need help, at that spot. And, just look around the league, the teams that have really good corners or good secondary players. I mean, even, like Miami, they play a lot of 6DB, combinations. A lot of teams are starting to do that now just because of how offenses are. Really, you almost have to have, just to label it for everybody, you almost have to have like 2 number 1s and a couple of number 2s now. Or have a 1A and a 1B and a couple of number 2s, at the slot, at the safety spot. That's, because of the way the game's evolved, that's what you need now. And honestly, I mean, the Jets are kind of far from that right now. They are. They just truly are. They, New England's probably got, they're a good secondary, obviously, with Gilmore and McCourty. Like I said, Miami's made some moves. Seattle's not Seattle, but Seattle's still, good at corner with Flowers. And the young kid that came on, I can't remember his name, plays right corner.
Griffin?
Yeah, Griffin, and there's one more. I think he was either a rookie or a second-year guy last year. Somebody got hurt and he came in. I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But you see, if you look at the trend, I mean, even Kansas City, look at San Fran. They have steady corners that are good. Their safeties are good, good cover guys. And that's because of the evolution of the game. And so you need that depth, in the secondary to be able to play. And like I said, the Jets are far from that, right now.
And I pulled their schedule too. You have Diggs twice. You're playing the Broncos with Cortland Sutton and Judy. You got the Cardinals with DeAndre Hopkins. You got the Chargers with Keenan Allen. You got the Chiefs with Tyreek Hill. Yeah. You got the Seahawks with Metcalf and
Lockett.
Yeah, and Lockett's blanking out on his name, and then you play the Rams, who have Woods and Kupp, and then you play the Browns too with Landry and Odell. So I hope that they address it a little bit more. I'm hoping that they bring in Ryan, because I think bringing Ryan would be a big impact. A lot of people talk about edge rusher or corner, which the Jets address. I think in a perfect world, edge rusher is If we had a first-round draft pick next year, number 10 pick, and there's an even guy at corner and edge rusher, I'm taking the edge rusher because the Jets have never had it since Abraham. But at the same time, I think Logan Ryan's going to make the biggest impact on the free agent market to the Jets team right now. Right. So I'm hoping they sign him for $7-8 million. He's a good player. So we'll see what happens. But Marcus, we appreciate having you on. And like I said, hopefully we'll have you back on for Quincy Wilson. If not, we'll see you again. I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure, man. All right, appreciate it.